All right, so we are starting to make the final details on the Sonia. This is the rear gunner's belt buckle. Now, what it's made of is the base of it is a piece of just masking tape, plain old masking tape. These two pieces here, this one and this one, are just pieces of paper that I cut out. They're going to be painted aluminum. They're like connections. And then these are these tiny little chains that I bought at the hobby store that's made for putting chains on model ships. And then these pieces look like they should have, at least based on the picture I've seen, they're kind of padding or something that's on the actual belt. Because these look like they connect from one side to the other. And I think it was just something to be put over the guy so he would have something to grab onto. I don't think they necessarily went over him like a tight fit. That's what I'm guessing. But this is based on what I've seen. But there are these pads. And what these pads are folded pieces of paper, so it's a little bit thicker, and just put on there. And then I kind of squinched up the masking tape to make it kind of look like it's a little bit, just almost just a little more flaccid. And what I'm going to do is paint this thing a buff color, paint these aluminum, and then I'm going to wash it with a little bit of light, with like a tan brown wash. So let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can see this. So I have a color here that's sort of a beigeish color. And I'm just going to very carefully paint these things all this beige color. And it's just, it doesn't have to be beautiful because it's going to be in the back. You're not going to see it very well, all that stuff. It's again one of these things where, why do you put all this work into the cockpit interior or into this interior you're never going to see, which is a very valid point. And all I can tell you is it's fun to do. And it really makes the model that much nicer. I mean, I do it with plastic models. I do it with every kind of model I build. But it definitely isn't it's definitely for weird people. I mean, you're right. Those of you who are thinking, you're never going to see this, you are so correct. I agree with you. I agree with you 125%. So don't think I'm dissing you, like, oh, they don't understand, heathens. That's not the case. So what we'll try to do is now paint these little aluminum pieces. Man, this is hard to do looking through this little camera deal. So there's one. Can I get the other? A little more aluminium. Can I get this? And this was all put to, the pieces of paper, the little square pieces of padding, were just glued on with super glue onto the masking tape, and then these little tiny chains were just tip glued with super glue and accelerated around the tip. And those just came together really easy, really fast. So it wasn't anything spectacularly amazing I did. I just used the simplest thing I could, which was super glue. That thick super glue was a godsend. I can't imagine these people in an Eastern Bloc country 40 years ago putting these things together without things like super glue. My admiration goes out for them. Absolutely. So what I'll do now is take some of this. It's a Tamiya brown wash, and I'm just going to sort of plop it on here and let it sort of do its thing. It will dissipate, and it will dry a little bit lighter than this, but it adds a little color and texture. And we're going to leave it right like that and let it dry. And then we're going to go ahead and put this thing into the interior, which is going to be dicey. But basically one end is going to go onto the side, super glue it onto the side of like where a former is, a stringer on the inside, and then the other part I'll just kind of try to drape it so that it looks realistic. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll show you what the end result is if I get it in. Okay, I got updates. I don't know if you can see this, but I got that bad boy in there. I got the chain there, and then it hangs down on the other side. Looks cool. Oh, almost wet my pants when I got it in there. Looks good. It's stuck down, and it dangles. The one side, you can't see it, but the chain is dangling. It's really cool. I also found, I got to paint this, but this is a little sight, ancient laser cut sight from, or I'm not laser, photo etch from years and years and years ago. But that goes on there, and that'll be painted. And then the last thing I'm playing around with tonight is I poked a hole in the windshield, and this is where a sight goes, and a telescopic sight. So here is my telescopic sight. It's made out of plastic, and it looks better than what they tell you to do, and it looks more like stuff that was on the real airplane. So what I'm going to do is basically put a couple dots of glue here and here, slide this in, glue it, and then I can paint the front later. But I'll put that in, and then all we have left is to fix some windows in the back and then put an antenna along here. Oops. An antenna, because I've also put that in. That's just a couple pieces of paper put together on the kit. So a piece of wire has to go from here all the way back to the rudder, to the fin. But and then it would be done. So we are so close. Okay, I got the sight in right there and painted. So it looks good, looks straight, looks like it's supposed to be there. Man, I got to put an antenna on here. I got to fix windows, and then I forgot I need a pitot tube out here somewhere. I have to fashion that because it's kind of a crooked thing. It comes out like this, up and out again. So it's like it does a wiggle waggle up here. It's not just a straight tube, but it is so close. I will definitely finish this guy tomorrow, and then we'll have a nice final reveal. So, whew, so close, really, really close. All right, so I made a pitot tube based on pictures I've seen what it's supposed to look like. This is just wire that I bent to this weird angles. This is pieces of paper on each side that it looks like there's some kind of a fairing on that thing. And now I'm going to paint this a color that I mixed up. That's a bunch of different gray and white and light blue. And I'm hoping it's going to approximate what's on the aeroplane. The tip I'm going to leave silver, or whatever the natural color that is of the metal here, because I think they were kind of bright silver, the end of those pitot tubes. So I'm just going to paint this up a little bit. Doesn't have to be beautiful. And then this is going to, when it's dry, end up on the wing. And where I'm going to put it is, again, based on pictures I've seen. It's as close as I can get in terms of, it looks like the right location. It's probably not going to be 100% accurate, but there that is. I'm hoping that this approximates this color pretty well. It's not going to be fantastic, but it looks like that lighter color a little bit. And I made a little hole in the leading edge of the wing. Right, where is it? Oh, it's right there. Right there. So all I'm going to do is take this with some super glue on the end when it dries and slide it in there. That'll be that. Okay. So this has to dry. How am I going to let it dry? Oh, here we go. I don't want to I don't want to get it. I want to let it dry. I don't want to touch it, so I'll do that. There we go. I'll just set this down. Let that dry. Now, what's left on here? Well, the more you look at one of these things, the more you think, ooh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, which is all very true. I think the last thing, though, is, there's a step I could put on. There's a couple things I could do with it. But I have a feeling that the next thing we're going to do with this guy is put on the antenna. And if I, by the way, spend money on good brushes. These are Winsor Newton brushes, and they're fantastic. I've used them for 1,000 years. They're expensive, but wow, they're whole paint, and they're just delightful. Smelling lacquer thinner, feeling good. Once I put that in there, the next biggest thing to do in terms of finishing things is putting an antenna from there all the way to there. And so, maybe that's something we could do right now while we're sitting here while waiting for that to dry. It's not terribly exciting, but what we do is use super glue and a little bit of zip kicker, and should work okay. I'm going to use, I guess this thread. This is pretty thin. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to basically figure out, how far this goes. You could be really careful and do it the right way, which would be to measure. What I want to do with this is just make it so that it's just long enough, because I'm worried if it's too short, it's going to pull on the on that antenna. This antenna, sadly, is just a really thin piece of paper, and I'm a little nervous that it's probably going to give me problems, but I'm going to stick that there with some super glue, and we will sort of go from there. I'm going to take a little bit of, these are my nice brushes, I left my other brushes inside. I take a little bit of the zip kicker and just touch it to the end so that it's there. And I'm going to take a little bit of glue, of super glue, and I'm going to take the tip of this thing, and I am going to dip it in a little bit of super glue, and then just touch it to this with the hopes that it will dry nice. Okay, and actually it's okay that there's a little bit of shininess in the glue there, because that is going to actually look okay. Because the see what I mean? Oof, that really moved. Might have to take it off and put a piece of metal in there. Will this attach and be too much? It might be too much. I might be stretching it a little too much. So I think I need a piece that's slightly longer, or I've got to put make a new one of these and put a piece of metal in it, because it's just too wimpy. Although the whole canopy moves, so I might just have to be really careful, or use a thinner. That's what I'll do. I'll use a thinner piece of this stuff. I can use really much thinner, and it's much wimpier. Maybe that'll work better. So let me do that. That's all I'm going to do. Go get some pliers, and then we're almost done. Okay, well, I got the antenna on, which looks great. I got the pitot tube on, which looks much better and more scale-like actually compared to what I've seen anyway. It's what a lot of them look like. They probably have different pitot tubes depending on the era or whatever, but that's the one I kept seeing. So that looks cool. Like I said, my sight's in. What else can I show you? Again, I got the machine gun and I got a sight put in there, an etched sight, which makes that look pretty cool. Ooh, I know one thing I could do to finish it off really. There's one more thing I could do, but I'm a little nervous to do it. There's a little peg that comes out of here, and there's an antenna that goes up and attaches onto this wire. I'm nervous because, at least I think it does, because if I put any more stress on this, it's going to wiggle and woggle and wibble. See, that wire is very, very thin, so it doesn't put a lot of stress on it. So it's right. But if I put another wire on there, elastic, I think I might run it going out around. So I'm going to leave that off. Just shoot me. That's fine. But one thing I'm going to do real quick is this stuff. I guess they still make it. This is some kind of window maker for clear windows. And I can take a little bit of this and just drop it on the tip of that sight. Not that it makes much difference, but it'll be glossy when it dries, real clear, and it will look kind of like a lens. I did that on the camera, on the gun camera. But anyway, you know, I think we're gonna call this thing done. And everything worked out. I got the seat belt back there. I finished the gun. I got my windows in. They look good. Oh, that's one thing I did forget. Up front here, there's supposed to be a little metal tip that has a notch cut out of it. It's a thing called a Hux starter. So they would attach this starting mechanism and it would spin and turn the propeller over. And that would be connected to a truck or a tractor or something. I might stick that in with a piece of aluminum tubing, but that's it. And we're gonna say this thing is done and kind of beautiful.
神武の昔天高く瀕死の翼三千頭その日光に羽ばたきて聖戦すでに戦旅陸の空軍輝けり敵と探り完全と防衛弾を犯してはいよいよ軍を導きて我が領欲にかかりたる使命は重していさつき幾百千機あだすともそのただ中に尽きれば敵兵失せて後もなし阿信州の花と散る誉れは香る戦闘機めいめいつぐる大空の幾山川や雲遠く敵戦列の目に受けてみじんと砕く空爆の大川あられ爆撃機炎熱薬がごとき日も